Ryan Little.
Japan.
Hello and welcome to Monson Made This. My name is Michael and I cook vegan food, so if you're interested in that, definitely click the subscribe button below and give this video a thumbs up while you are down there. Today, I'm gonna be making a dish that's kind of like an appetizer, could be turned into a main course, but it's something that I threw together the other day, gave to Ben. He flipped out and loved it that he asked for it the next day as a meal. So I'm making these sticky, spicy tofu wings, I'm calling them, and it's just this really delicious. We're gonna be deep frying today. Deep fried pieces of tofu that are tossed in this really sticky, rich, caramelly, spicy, salty, sweet sauce. You're gonna love it. It's topped with a bunch of fresh herbs like cilantro and green onions. So without further ado, let's get into it. This is a fried tofu dish, so we do need tofu. I have a pack here of extra firm. The recipe that I have written is going to be for a half block of tofu, as I flip water everywhere, but you could easily double it and make a full block of tofu. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to cut it, then we are going to be drying it off, and I actually have a swap out that I can deep fry because you want to let this dry out for at least an hour or so just so you get extra crispy tofu. I want long, thin strips for mine, so I'm cutting it in half this way, and then I'm going to cut it into maybe 12 to 14 slices this way. If you wanted to do cubes, you could. If you wanted to do triangles, this dish could, like I said, easily be served over rice as kind of like a main dish. And so you might want different shapes for that. Say squares would be nice, although I do love a triangle tofu. Once you get it all sliced, I have a towel here on a cutting board. That's just so I can easily move it aside, but I'm gonna sandwich the tofu in between this towel here. Now, you want to make sure that your detergent isn't too fragrant, because if you're using a towel like I am and you use a strongly fragranced detergent for your laundry, you will probably taste a little bit of that. Use paper towels if so, but I use unscented, so that's why I'm using a towel here. I'm just going to lay these out, get as many in here as I can. And then, like I said, I'm going to leave this for about an hour, 2 hours. It can just set on the counter. And that's so the towel absorbs the moisture and it just helps the tofu crisp up when we deep fry it. So this is good. I'm gonna just let this hang out to the side. I'm gonna move this, start cutting up my herbs so those are ready to go to finally garnish the dish. I mentioned in my last video, my ramen hack video, that I've been storing my cilantro and green onions in a glass of water in the fridge. So that's why I have here this bouquet of green onions and cilantro. So I'm gonna cut up quite a bit of this. This is really gonna be just sprinkled over the whole entire dish at the very end. So you have these really sticky, spicy, crispy tofu wings, and they're just kind of covered in this almost like salad of herbs. I also have a green pepper. I don't know what kind it is. Hopefully it's not too spicy, but I decided to add this today too, just to give a little bit of color and some spice. So I'm just gonna thinly slice these, and these will get sprinkled on the end as well. I'm okay with that. All right, move these aside. Green onion. I want both the greens as well as the white. And I'm just gonna slice these. Oh, I can smell that pepper. It is spicy. It's cool. Spicy, sticky wings. So I'm just gonna slice these as thin as I can. And that's pretty much it. Next thing we're gonna do is pull out my contraption that I'm gonna use for deep frying, and I'll show you that. And you could easily do this in an air fryer. I have a couple air fryer videos I'll link above, so if you didn't want to deep fry, you could bake it or air fry it. So, all right, these are all ready to go. Gonna set this aside, pull out my frying contraption, and we're gonna get frying. This thing right here, this giant flying saucer, is I believe an electric wok. I don't know, I got it from my grandfather when he was moving out of his house. They were having a yard sale, so I grabbed this. It does have a thermometer gauge, so you can set it to a specific temperature. The thing I like about this is that I can fill it like just a little bit with oil, and because it's deep, things will fry in there, and it doesn't splatter everywhere. So it's really nice. If you have like a Fry Daddy or a mini personal deep fryer, go ahead and use that. Otherwise, just a little bit of oil in a pan. I would just keep it on medium heat, making sure not to have too much oil, that there's a lot of space still left in the pot so that it doesn't spray everywhere. So I'm gonna set this up, plug it in so that it starts to heat, and then we're gonna start dredging the tofu. Really simple breading for the tofu. It's just gonna be rice flour. Nothing else, just rice flour. And I have my tofu that I had already pre-drained in here. This tofu is pretty dry, and I'm just gonna be using the residual moisture on the surface to adhere the rice flour. If you didn't have rice flour, you could use cornstarch. You could probably use all-purpose flour. I think that like a starch or like a rice flour is a little bit better, but if all you have is all-purpose flour, then definitely use that as well. This just gives it kind of a little crispy skin on it. It's not really a breading per se, but it does help the sauce stick to it later. And I'm just using my hands. I've made this dish, I think this is like the 4th time in the last couple of days, so I just kind of had this fryer contraption here on the counter with this little container of rice flour and tofu dry in the fridge so that I can just, whenever I get a craving or Ben gets a craving for this dish, I can just whip it together. Because once you have the stuff all ready to go, it goes really quickly. The sauce we're gonna make, it happens on the stovetop, but it's just a matter of minutes before it's done. Things get tossed together, covered in herbs. It's so good. My oil is heated to 375 Fahrenheit, and I'm just gonna carefully drop these into the oil. This size here, I'll be able to fry all of these at one time. If you have a smaller fry situation, obviously work in batches so that your oil doesn't cool off too quickly and then it just doesn't get crispy. Also, having tofu that's more dried out, having set longer, it will brown and crisp up quicker as well. So these are all gonna go in here. It'll take just a couple of minutes. I'm gonna use these crazy large chopsticks that I just had to have on Amazon to help move these things around. And as soon as these are brown and crispy, they'll come out. And then we'll move back to the stove behind me, dredge these in the sauce, and we are gonna dig in. I'm so excited, I'm starving. I love the smell of this fried tofu. It reminds me of the first time that I had fried tofu at a Thai restaurant. They're like sort of little makeup sponges of tofu with different sauces. I know there's something about the smell of fried tofu. I guess it's just the smell of frying anything. Slightly McDonald's-esque as well. Ben was saying that it reminds him of his old days of the fryer at McDonald's back in high school. Again, if you don't want to deep fry, I've got really great air fry recipes. The last air fried tofu recipe that I did, which is a gluten-free one, that would be a perfect recipe for this as well. So, unbeknownst to you, this is actually the second batch we fried today because we got audio deleted somehow. We had an audio issue. So now I have like 16 of these, but I'm not mad at that. They're so good. I know Ben's saying right now that he's not really interested in having these today because he's had them the last 2 or 3 days in a row, but he'll want them once they're done. He'll be glad we have 16 of these. These have been cooking for a few minutes, not sure exactly how long, but they're pretty much as golden as they're going to be or need to be, so I'm gonna pull these out. And this just makes it easier, and I'm putting them onto a wire rack just so that they can drain a little bit. These are gonna hang out while I make the sauce. Said if you're able to do both of these simultaneously, they pretty much take the same amount of time to cook, but if you had to choose one to do first, definitely the tofu. It'll hold, it'll stay. So I'm gonna move all this stuff aside, get it cleaned up, and then I'll meet you back at the stove so we can make this incredible sauce. To make this easier for myself, I've made a really nice presentation of everything that's going in the sauce here. So I'll tell you what each of them are as I put them into the pan. This is just sugar, and it's vegan sugar, it's an organic sugar. This is Bragg's liquid aminos. You could use low sodium soy sauce if you wanted. This is sambal. You could use just sriracha, or if you don't like heat at all, you'd want to leave this out, although these are sticky, spicy wings. This is some sesame oil for a little bit of sesame flavor. Here is a bunch of garlic. I'm just using minced, pre-minced from Costco. This is a bunch of red pepper flake. Again, if you don't like spice, don't include it. This is an extra secret ingredient that I will tell you about at the very end. And then I'm gonna add a bit of sesame seeds to this as well. And then I'm going to be turning this to medium heat. This is not something you want to walk away from. I'll actually put it slightly up so it's just until it gets started. You don't want to walk away from this, you want to watch it. This is essentially candy making at this point. We have a ton of sugar and it's going to hopefully caramelize. As soon as the heat comes up on this, it's going to bubble, and we're going to want this to just bubble away until it gets reduced quite a bit, until it covers whatever cooking utensil we are using to stir this. So it's starting to simmer. We want that effect to essentially be over the entire pan here. Don't walk away, watch this, keep stirring. You don't want it to get burnt. You want it to slightly caramelize. You want it to reduce so that it coats the tofu, but you don't want it to burn. You want it to maintain this level of bubbles. Just keep an eye on it. Let it reduce, let it do its thing. This is just about there. I'm actually gonna be turning this off right now. It's gonna continue to reduce. If you look at it, you can see how it kind of pulls away from the bottom and it's coating my utensil here. The secret ingredient that I'm going to add here is some balsamic vinegar. I know it sounds weird, but we have really spicy, really salty, really sweet, and that balsamic just adds like a bit of brightness to it that you don't notice as balsamic vinegar, but you definitely notice that it's picked up the flavor a little bit. And that kind of stops the cooking as well. All right, we are ready to throw in our tofu. And I actually turned it on for just another 20 seconds because it wasn't quite as thick as I want. And you really want it to stick and cling to this tofu. I could probably fit a few more in here. Also, this sauce is pretty much incredible on everything. The leftover roasted veggies from my roasted veggie sandwich video, that's how I came to add the balsamic, because I started dipping those veggies in this sauce. And I was like, oh my God, the balsamic on those veggies just makes this so much better. So that's why there's balsamic in here. So put this on anything. Cauliflower wings. I feel like I'm struggling to do this. But you want it to coat everything. Can't really save this sauce or do it too much in advance because it will get really thick. It's caramel, kids. So this sauce, like I said, makes enough for like a half block of tofu, but it looks like I have some extra here, so I'm just gonna throw in a few more of the pieces that I had cooked. But if you're making a full block of tofu, I would definitely suggest doubling this sauce. Gotta be an easier way to coat these. To plate this, I wanna do kind of like Jenga style plating. I think that's kind of like a cool way to do this. Leave a little bit of space in between them so that the herbs fall down. Let's do 9 of these. Very chefy. I'm struggling with these chopsticks today. You'd think it was my first day. Once you have it stacked however you want, then you want to generously add your herbs and your green onion. I'll use a little bit less just for the glamour shot photos here, but I'd recommend just loading this with cilantro and green onion. Always asked what to use, adding the pepper also. Always asked what to use. If you don't like cilantro, a lot of people have suggested celery leaves. They've suggested parsley. I just love cilantro. I know that it adds a lot to this dish. So whatever you're used to using in place of cilantro, go ahead and use that. But this is this dish, beautiful, sticky, sweet, spicy, incredible fried tofu as an appetizer. Serve it with lettuce as a main dish. You are going to love this. It is insane. It is so good. Just fires on all cylinders. It's crispy, crunchy, sweet, salty. It's everything. I'm ready to dig in. so that I don't mess up my beautiful Jenga stack here. I've made myself a single serving here. It's beautiful as is, but I have this extra special powder that I'm going to be putting on it, Chongqing. If you watched my last video, the ramen hack one, or you've been to the blog post that goes with that, you'll see that I'm like obsessed with Mission Chinese food right now. And so this is a powder that they put on their chicken wings. It's basically like Sichuan peppercorns, cloves, anise. It's kind of a crazy thing, but I'm obsessed with it. So I've been putting it on my wings, my tofu wings. So I'll have that a recipe to that linked on my website as well. So let's give this a taste. All right. This is my new favorite food. It's literally the best tofu that I've ever had. It pulls just in every direction. I'm obsessed with all of the green stuff on it. The chili adds like a green heat compared to the red heat that's on the inside of the sauce. You've got to give this a try. And again, even if you don't like deep fried food, use the air fried recipe, put this sauce on there. It is next level. You are going to love this. If you want to see me eat a whole stack of these, go on over to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/monsonmadethis. There's a link below as well if you want to watch all of my Monsonmadethis videos. Thank you to everyone that's been supporting me and providing support through all of this, because it's really been keeping us afloat here. So I'm very grateful for all of the help that people have been giving us over on Patreon. So help us out over there if you are able to. Thank you again for watching this. Give this a try. Tag me on Instagram if you make this. Take any pictures. It's at Monson Made This. Go ahead and follow me over there as well, because I've got a lot of great content there that I don't necessarily do videos for. So thank you again. That's all I have to say. I'm ready to devour a whole stack of this stuff. And I'll see you next time with another recipe video. Bye.